I have a comment coming through here from his email ID, StonesFab. Well, he says that he lives in Yobe. And this says he wrote a previous one, but he continues and says that the Boko Haram came with artillery and the military refrained from confrontation because of the fear for innocent citizens' casualties. But he says he thinks the issues here are that 1, the politicians are trying to discredit the efforts of the military and the presidency. 2, the governors are not helping as they are not talking to the people, rather they're just making comments. He says the community support is needed by the JTF. Air support have been suspended recently as we cannot see them flying around as before, and he has been helping to curb the insurgency. This, he says, is writing from Yobe.
Yeah, he has a point, because like I said earlier on, how could you have a state of emergency in an environment and then still leave a political head functioning? If 2 days ago I heard, after that comment from Kashim Ibrahim, from Kashim Shetima, the president was reacting that for whatever reason the emergency thing they have put was deliberately kept at a very mild level. That is why he is there. If he wants, he can remove him for 1 month. And you know what the president meant by that. Why didn't he remove him in the first place? They must be suspended so that the military will take full responsibility of the pluses or the minuses that may have taken place.
But you have those who criticize that, who kicked against removing the governors, saying, no, you have to leave them, that it's a democracy, and they all insist. Even recent, there was a comment too by the APC of any such plan as removing the Bono governor and then taking over completely to solve this problem once and for all. So what do you think?
Those are the political strings that are pulled by those people, those faceless people, and yet it's not for the common good of the ordinary Nigerian. It is their own personal interest that drives them. And unfortunately, the leaders, the powers that be, succumb to this pull of the strings rather than the realities on ground. For example, now, how the Borno State and its environs are known to be a peaceful state ever since. How come this thing is happening? Even at the spiritual level, the losses is unbelievable, because before you can now get back on top of the situation, even at that level in Borno State, I'm telling you, it's just like Lebanon of those days. Anybody, any child who grew up in those era, he could not have been the same Lebanese of earlier days before the revolutions. The same thing happens in Borno. And anybody from the northeast in 10, 20 years to come will not be that conservative, peaceful person.
You know, sorry, Chimla, I was going to ask a question here, and it borders on identity again. How sure are we who these people are? Because now the government has closed our border in the north with Cameroon to see how they can actually cut short some of these people coming in, especially when the attack from the army is upon them. Are we really sure that they are from the north? Are they northern Nigerians that are members of Boko Haram, or people from outside the country?
You cannot completely say they are not or they are, because for example now Shekau, the present leader, is a Kanuri person, and whatever a Kanuri one reports himself claiming to be from, he must have hailed within that Borno state of Nigeria. And to that extent, if Mohammed Shekau, who unfortunately came back from the dead, so to say, is there and rumbling around, challenging. Now, the borders cannot be said to be imporous. It's very difficult. Even the European countries who succeeded in this, their customs and immigration activities, is because of the levels, the water levels that you have. It's so high, so whatever it is that you want to do, you just have to come through a very organized entrance. Here, you go to Borno State, right down from Sokoto and go right down the length. In fact, any other border of this country, you can always beat the immigration, and you can always beat the custom if you mean to penetrate. Of course, you cannot have a parade like line of military personnel or whatever to close the border. The man is closed now. Is good as not being closed, because he'll be watching you there and he will just break through there.
It might be different now. I wouldn't advise anyone to try.